Now to a growing problem here in the city, the need for affordable housing and not enough apartments to go around. So imagine the surprise when we learned that thousands of NYCHA apartments are currently vacant.
New York City, the most iconic metropolis in the world, is grappling with its most severe housing affordability crisis in a century. Despite billions of dollars in subsidies, a robust rent stabilization program, and the largest public housing system in the nation, the outcomes for renters and those struggling with housing insecurity are deeply troubling. In October 2025, around 86,000 New Yorkers spent the night in city-run shelters. The median renter in New York City now spends an eye-popping 31% of their income on rent. Vacancy rates have hit rock bottom. Only 1.4% of rental units are available, with a vanishingly small 0.4% of them priced below $1,100 per month. Even New York's extensive housing choice, Section 8 voucher program, which aims to assist low-income residents, has been unable to address the city's growing need for affordable housing.
We see just this really serious, persistent need of folks waiting years and years.
Only 53% of eligible voucher holders managed to secure housing before their vouchers expired in 2023. The root cause of New York's housing crisis is a fundamental shortage of housing. While the city has seen explosive population and job growth, particularly since the 1990s, housing production has not kept up. Between 2011 and 2023, New York added nearly 900,000 new jobs, but only built around 350,000 new homes, a ratio of almost 3 jobs for every new housing unit constructed. In the years since the pandemic, that ratio has skyrocketed to nearly 6-to-1. The result is a severe shortage of affordable homes, which has driven rents up, squeezed renters, and forced many New Yorkers into dire circumstances. Older workers still living with roommates, families commuting from distant suburbs, and vulnerable populations pushed further out of the housing market.
About their landlords asking for their rent no matter what's happening in their life, that's the amount they're going to have to pay.
This housing crisis, however, is not unique to New York City. It is the product of a global phenomenon, a chronic underproduction of housing in cities with booming economies and increasing demand. Cities like Tokyo, Houston, and Auckland have addressed their own housing shortages by prioritizing construction and simplifying zoning and development rules. Tokyo, for example, adds nearly 80,000 new homes each year, 2 to 3 times the pace of New York's housing production. In Houston, relaxed zoning laws have allowed for an expansion of affordable housing, virtually eliminating chronic homelessness. Similarly, Auckland's decision to allow more housing development along transit corridors resulted in a construction boom that helped flatten rent prices within just a few years. The lesson is clear. Cities that prioritize housing construction and adjust zoning regulations to allow for greater density can ease the affordability crunch. New York City, once a leader in rapid housing development, has slipped behind. In the 1920s, New York added nearly 730,000 new homes, and in the 1960s, it built housing at twice the rate it does today. However, decades of restrictive zoning laws, increasingly complex approval processes, and growing opposition to new development have created an environment where building sufficient new housing has become nearly impossible. One of the key factors behind New York's housing crisis is the city's outdated and restrictive zoning laws.
My question is, what would the cost be to go in the buildings, building by building, and fix what's run down?
At first, they wanted to do just that, but the developers and the housing authorities say what became really clear.
The city's zoning regulations, which began as reasonable measures to protect public health and safety, have become overly prescriptive and hinder the development of new housing. The 1961 overhaul of the city's zoning framework, coupled with subsequent revisions, has increasingly limited housing density in key neighborhoods. Local communities, including well-funded homeowners and business interests, have resisted new development, arguing that adding more residents will strain infrastructure, increase congestion, and change the character of neighborhoods. However, these arguments ignore the dynamic history of New York City's growth. Over the last century, the city has consistently adapted to changing needs by tearing down old buildings, reclaiming land such as Battery Park City, and growing organically with diverse housing types that evolved in response to changing demands. The idea that New York is full or built out ignores the city's historic capacity for renewal and regeneration.
Big investors coming in and trying to snatch up dozens to hundreds of housing units and turn them into full-time, 365-day-a-year hotel rooms in the middle of residential neighborhoods,
as well as the demands of its diverse population. The current zoning system and the approval processes that accompany it have become so complex and politically fraught that it is almost impossible to build new housing in many parts of the city. The Uniform Land Use Review Procedure, ULURP, which governs how housing projects are approved, was designed to balance development with neighborhood input. However, the process is often slow, with local politicians wielding unwritten vetoes over projects that may not be popular in their districts. This member deference has created a system where large development projects require political approval at every level, making it difficult to build in neighborhoods that need new housing the most. Additionally, the city's reliance on community boards and borough presidents to approve developments has resulted in many projects being watered down or blocked altogether. This political gridlock has led to a situation where many high-demand neighborhoods, especially those in Manhattan and Brooklyn, are seeing a net loss of housing units as wealthy residents combine multiple apartments.
Register with the city. The law also says if you're renting out an entire apartment, it must be for 30 days or more and limited to 2 guests.
While new construction does not replace what is being lost. In addition to the city's private housing market, New York's public housing system plays a critical role in providing affordable housing for the city's poorest residents. The New York City Housing Authority, NYCHA, which manages nearly 180,000 apartments, is a lifeline for many low-income families. However, NYCHA's buildings are in desperate need of repair, with a maintenance backlog estimated at over $78 billion. Overcrowding, leaky roofs, mold, pest infestations, and broken elevators are just a few of the problems that plague the system. Many residents have been living with substandard conditions for years.
What do you think of this plan, George?
Excellent. I'm for 150%.
Not all residents are on board, but the vast majority voted in favor of a plan that will eventually tear all this down and build them new homes.
And while repairs are slow, the need for new investment is overwhelming. Mayor Eric Adams initiated a plan to transfer many of these developments to private management to tap into federal funds for repairs. However, this has been met with resistance from progressive political leaders, who argue that NYCHA should remain in public hands to ensure that low-income New Yorkers aren't displaced by privatization. This issue is expected to be a major point of focus for Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, who pledged to work tirelessly to make lights shine again in the hallways of NYCHA developments. Where they have long flickered, Mamdani's administration will have to confront the challenge of finding a sustainable way to revitalize NYCHA while preserving its affordability and public control. One of the most symbolic battles in New York's housing crisis is the ongoing controversy over the Elizabeth Street Garden in Nolita, Lower Manhattan. For over a decade, the city has sought to build affordable housing on the site of this beloved community garden, but the plan has faced fierce opposition from local residents, activists, and celebrities. Despite losing several legal battles, the opposition succeeded in pressuring Mayor Adams to abandon the project. However, Mamdani has made it clear that he plans to move forward with building on the garden's site as part of his broader push to increase affordable housing stock. This has sparked a new wave of resistance, with garden advocates warning that Mamdani is pitting housing against community spaces in a divisive manner.
The mayor is single-handedly focused on destroying this garden and ignoring a number of other opportunities for building more affordable housing on city-owned land.
The Elizabeth Street Garden controversy highlights the broader tension between development and community interests in New York City. As Mamdani's administration looks to expand the city's housing stock, balancing the need for new homes with the concerns of existing residents will be a delicate and politically fraught challenge. Another issue Mamdani will have to tackle is the city's controversial stance on short-term rentals, particularly those listed on platforms like Airbnb. In recent years, New York City has cracked down on illegal short-term rentals, arguing that they remove much-needed housing from the long-term rental market. These policies have been effective in curbing the number of short-term rental units in the city, but they have also sparked a debate over the broader implications for affordability and tourism. Some property owners, along with platforms like Airbnb, have pushed for the loosening of restrictions, arguing that responsible short-term rentals can provide extra income for families and increase the city's attractiveness as a tourist destination. The issue is particularly relevant as New York prepares to host the 2026 World Cup. Mamdani has expressed a desire to make the event affordable for fans.
It is no surprise that Mayor Adams is using his final weeks and months to cement a legacy of dysfunction and inconsistency.
But loosening short-term rental restrictions could face resistance from tenants and activists who fear it would further drive up rents and reduce available housing. While New York City has taken steps to address its housing crisis, many of the key decisions that shape the city's housing market are made at the state level. New York's restrictive property tax system, slow-moving environmental review processes, and the failure to update zoning laws in many suburban areas have all contributed to the housing crunch. State lawmakers have yet to enact a statewide solution that forces municipalities to allow more housing, especially in high-demand areas like Westchester and Long Island, where exclusionary zoning laws have perpetuated segregation and limited affordable housing options.
Well, definitely renters. And in terms of boroughs, Manhattan has consistently had the highest rent. Back in January, it actually surpassed an all-time $5,000.
In 2023, Governor Kathy Hochul unveiled a housing blueprint that included proposals to address many of these issues. But the plan was met with resistance in Albany and failed to gain traction. Without strong action at the state level, even the most progressive mayor will struggle to enact meaningful change. This highlights the urgent need for a coordinated effort between city, state, and federal governments to tackle New York's housing crisis head-on. Ultimately, the solution to New York City's housing crisis will require bold action on multiple fronts. The city must modernize its zoning laws, streamline the approval process for new housing, and invest heavily in public housing repair and maintenance. Mayor-elect Mamdani's administration will need to balance the competing demands of community preservation, affordability, and new development. At the same time, state lawmakers must enact reforms to ensure that housing is built more equitably across the region, while the federal government must support low-income tenants and provide necessary resources for affordable housing development. The stakes couldn't be higher. With a housing shortage of this magnitude, the future of New York City's vitality and its diverse character is at risk. If leaders fail to act decisively, the city may become a playground for the wealthy, with ordinary New Yorkers priced out of their own neighborhoods. Conversely, if the city adopts bold, inclusive housing policies, it could become a model for other cities around the world, proving that affordability and growth can go hand in hand. The clock is ticking, and the moment for transformative change is now.